Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about maps and how to use different formats in Qlik. I will share some of my experience, maybe you do something different, but it's a sort of tutorial to show how I would solve some problems. In this example, I will use the Australian Bureau of Statistics data. We have some very interesting data sets here with some shapefiles, and that's what we're going to use. And we will upload this into Qlik. If you Google Digital Boundary Files Australia, you find this page here. And if you scroll down, you see that there are many files with different level of details. In our case, I will download this file here. So I'll just click here and download this zip file. It will take some seconds. After that, I will extract the content because it's a zip file. And then I will use this software here called QGIS. Okay. So this will be used to convert the shapefile into KML that can be read by Qlik. So I've just extracted the files, and here I have the SHP, which is the main one. It's a shapefile, and this is basically a map. After you download and install QGIS, you can open the app. And now I will create an empty project. So click here. You can simply drag this shapefile onto the app, and it will start importing everything. In this case, we have a lot of details, so depending on your computer, it might slow down the performance. In our case here, I will filter some regions, okay? To do that, I can right-click here on top of this layer and click on Filter. These are the fields that are in the database, in this file, in this SHP file. And you can see some samples here, so you can add some conditions. In our case, I will use this field here. Let me check if this is the one. No, really, SCE name. This is the one. So I'll filter this. You can double click on top of it and add an equal sign and then the value that you want. So in this case, I'll add the state name should be equals to New South Wales. I can test it, check if it's going to work, and it did. And now I can click OK. It's still very detailed, so if I export this file to KML now, it will still be quite large. So I'll add more filters. You can also add conditions like this. So I'm using SA4 name in a list, and this is the list with 2 options. Now I'll hit OK, and we should have just a few data points, much smaller than what we had before. Now we need to export this layer and upload it to Qlik. And to do that, I will right-click on top of the layer, click here in Export, Save Feature As. By default, if it's not selected, you should select Keyhole Markup Language, which is KML, and define where you'll save this file. After that, we can click OK and wait the export to be concluded. Now let's upload this KML file to Qlik and use it in the dashboard. I will now create a new app here in my Qlik Cloud tenant. And I will use the data load editor to load the table in here. In my case, I'll use the data files folder to upload the KML file here and load it from this folder. In my example, the name of the file is Sydney example map. Now with this file, we can select and load it from here. And we have 2 options. You notice that if we load it as KML, we have this option here. So we have P1, P2, P3. These are the rows and the areas that are on the map. And these are the actual areas. So these are the coordinates of each one of those dots and lines that we see of the shapes. But we're going to load in a different way. We're going to load this as XML. Okay. And we don't need all these tabs or sheets, let's say. We're going to load the second one. In this case, we have this key here, key placement, and you see that this is connected to another part here, another table. But basically this has the field name that we should see in the table and the field value. So that's how I'll call it. So I'll call this field value, field name. And this is how I'm doing. You can do it in a different way. There are many different ways to do the same thing. Okay. And here I'll just call this key like this. Now on the third sheet, we don't really need anything from here. We could load it, but it's a different thing. So I will uncheck this one. Now the fourth, this is the area. So the same thing, but it doesn't have the same brackets, squared brackets, but we're gonna add that. And we don't need all these columns here too. We just want this key column right here. Now we'll have to transform this column here a little bit. Okay, we don't need this last one. So just these two. Let me now insert the script and I'll just give it a name. So this will be data values. And here we have the area. Now I'll load the data. And you notice that we'll have to add the square brackets, in this case manually. Okay, it really depends on how you're loading your data, but in this case I'll do that manually. You understand why. Let's now go to the sheet, and if we look at the data that is here, we have the keys, we have the field names, the values, and the area, but this area needs the brackets and also some commas. I already know how to load it, so I'm going to show you how I will do it. It might change in your case, it depends, but for this specific file, that's how we can do it. So let me show you. I'll go back to the script now, and I will rename this column right here in the area section. 1 second, there we go. Now first, we need to add 4 square brackets in the beginning and concatenate with the file, with the actual column, sorry. 4 closing square brackets at the end, and in the middle we have some spaces, and we need to replace these spaces for this specific thing here. So replacing single quotes, space, and single quotes for this. A closing square brackets, comma, and opening square brackets. Now we can close the replace, and that's the area that we need. Okay, so I'll just rename this field here as area, and we are good to go. Now I can load the data from here, go back to the dashboard, and start building something with that. I will first add here a table on the left side, and there are 2 columns that we can bring here, the field name and the field value. Now let's bring a map here, and the first layer, in our case we will only do 1 layer, so the layer we'll add is the area layer, and the field is area. Actually, I just realized that I added only 3 opening brackets, so I need to go back to the script and correct it. So let me go back, and here I have 3, it should be 4. Yeah, now we can see the map, but in this case it has a lot of elements, and by default Qlik only displays 1000 elements. Let's change that in the configuration. So we go to the map layer, click here, we go to options, general, and max visible objects. I will add another 0 here, so we'll now see 10,000 objects, so 10,000 area points, and here it is. Now we can zoom in and select some smaller area from the map. So let's say that we want to look at this part here. We can change the colors and add a tooltip here that will display exactly the information that we want. Let me change the color. Now let's add a tooltip, and we can display here the information in many different ways, but in our case, I'll go to options, tooltip, custom, and I will use a concat expression to only retrieve, using here a set analysis, only retrieve the information that has a text that starts with the SA, because I know that in this data set, SA here is a definition of some areas. So we have SA1, SA2, 3, and 4. Now going back here to the app, in custom tooltip, we can add a title if you want, but I will go to the description. So I'll do concat distinct. I'll use here a set analysis, okay? So I want the field name to start with SA something. And the field that I want is field value. but I want to concatenate the field name and the field value in this expression. So it will be easier for us to understand what's what. So field name with an equal sign and the value. And I want to concatenate that with a new line. So I want to keep a row every time we have a new value. And to do that, I'll use chr10. Now we can close the concat function, click here and apply. We can even go back here and just hide the legend of the map. So it will be a bit better in this case. And now if I hover the mouse on each one of these areas, it brought me the area to because I forgot to hide this information in the layer. So going back to the options, hide basic rows, that's what we needed. Now hovering the mouse on top of each one of these blocks, I see the name and all those fields that starts with SA. So I know exactly the information about that block. And one thing that I really like about this data set is that we can click on any of these blocks. I'll click here and I can copy the value of this SA2 code here, go to search census data, paste it in here. We should have here here we have the statistical area level 2. And if I filter the same thing here and remove this area filter, I have information about this area. Okay, so exactly the same blocks. Or I can even go deeper and go with the SA1. I have here SA1, but SA1 is not related to this specific block. Okay, so I'll filter here, I'll remove this selection. So in this case, SA1 is related to these two blocks. I will copy and paste the same value in here. And if I click here in View Quick Stats, all person, I have a lot of information about this area here. The percentage of men and women, median weekly household income, and many other information about that specific block. So this is really super rich and could help a lot in analysis and profiling some areas. And of course, this is just an example of how we can start to work with this data here in Qlik. So I didn't really prepare the app so it would look very professional. It's just to go through the steps with you so you can follow exactly what I'm doing. But there's a lot more that we can do and create like professional solutions to analyze all this data, even inside Qlik, because you can also download and cross all this data inside the app. And that's it for this video. If you like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe. If you have any question or ideas for new videos, let me know, and see you in the next one.